We're live.
That's
Sorta.
that's what it's all about, brother.
Like most videos that people have been watching this week, you're wearing headphones and looking into weird cameras. I'm used to that. Figuring out how to use Skype. Haven't done it in a long time. So anyway, I'm Jared, y'all.
I am Josh. It's good to be here. Thank you for the hookup, man.
As I'm watching this, trying to figure out how it's going to look on the final video, if we'll be split screened or what, I don't know.
It's all good, man.
I'm not an editor.
I'm the editor.
I think I've made that clear. Man, we're surviving the quarantine, stay at home stuff the best we can. So what's up with the man?
Man, not a whole lot, dude. Seriously, I've been hanging out. I've been getting a lot of work done on Fire Pro edits. I'm caught up on this is so stupid, but my title histories in Fire Pro for the New Japan belts are accurate. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But Tetsuya Naito has the world title in the IC. I've got the for Pete's sake, man, it's Tanahashi and Ibushi are the tag champs. So we're good. It's silly, but I got caught up on that. Playing a lot of Winning 11. Just chilling out. It's all good, man. Eating a lot of Pringles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's not good.
I'm still knocking back the Cheez-Its.
Oh man, can't go wrong.
Like most people, and in my line of work, working in healthcare, and this coming up, seeing it coming from the past couple of weeks, I laughed. I was like, it's not going to be that big a deal. Is this another H1N1? And a few people will get it. And yeah, there'll be some casualties with it. But I didn't see it getting to this level. So I actually was feeling sorry for myself and bitching and moaning last weekend, knowing that the Tampa trip was gone. But the thing that kind of upset me about that was the fact that the city didn't step in and do it. And each side, I think, was kind of like, whether you're WWE or you're the city of Tampa, each one's trying to say, like, well, what are we going to lose? What do we stand to lose if we cancel this? And Vince ain't going to do it himself. That's been said 1,000 times. I'll just reiterate it. He's not going to say, like, well, we can't go on. That's not going to happen. But why does the city not come and say, like, we don't care that you're trying to keep your record? I think what they wanted to do is we're close enough where it's on the downswing now. Maybe Wrestlemania can go off and we'll keep our record of being the first live event after a big tragedy again. I think that's what they were going for. That's what they're still going for, because they still want to be, well, it's not that we want to have this event. We just want to be the first that gets to do it again.
Man, Corny was talking about that a bit. I really hadn't given it much thought, but I thought that him and Brian, I thought they kind of nailed it, because it's basically their take on it was that it's WWE as a company versus the city of Tampa in a game of chicken, because there's deposits to be forfeited. And if Vince cancels, we get to keep that. And that was the whole thing. It's like Tampa's like, and that's my thing. A city government is not going to lose. I know Vince has lots of lawyers, but it sucks. It sucks, but that's what that was their take, was that Vince wants to keep it on because it's his show and he wants to keep it on. But the financial aspect of it is basically whoever blinks first, you have to give them all the money back. And it's like, nope. And it's like, okay, then fine. Y'all just be ridiculous. And that's everybody. It's everybody involved, man.
It'll probably be a legal fight that'll be fought for years to come.
Seriously, this is y'all ridiculous.
But honestly, leading up to it, and because the city and the WWE drug their feet for so long, there is a video on this very YouTube. It's down there somewhere. It's on the High Spots Network, their channel, with the guy from WrestleCon, and how this. And it's not WrestleCon and all the other independent companies that go down there, like, this could end them, And the long and short of it, and maybe that was part of the long game with the WWE not canceling. It's like, well, if we make this harder on them, then less competition, brother. And I think that had to be in the back of their mind, because it's a really neat video, and you just don't realize how much these people aren't getting rich off of this weekend, and there's a lot of money that they stand to lose if they cancel and they back out. Then they are obligated to get nothing back insurance wise. So hopefully they'll stay afloat and keep things going, because the guy's such a cool dude that puts the show on, and the gist of it, he just wants to put on the show that he's always wanted to go to. Yes, and he doesn't come out and say that. It's just the feeling I get from him. And these are six-figure amounts of money that they would be liable for, and I'm like, man, I just could not imagine having to fit the bill for that. I'm like, well, could you take a kidney? Something? But yes. Man, it's hard to say. And luckily I hadn't invested much in going down there. I hadn't even done an Airbnb yet. I'd looked into it, and the only thing I had a ticket for was Hogan's Beach Shop was doing an event that I was going to go to, and I was still thinking, well, are they still going to try to do that? But they postponed. They didn't cancel. They postponed, and we'll find out whether it's in June or July. But it'll still be happening. So I just get to delay it and still go down there. But I hadn't did my usual thing. Don't buy a Mania ticket. Don't buy any of the WWE stuff till the absolute last minute. And that's I think that's the best way to do it. And maybe that'll be the rule of thumb going forward.
Yeah, seriously, man. The COVID precautions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's what's up, and that's just kind of like how I was looking at it. It's like, man, that's not going to be that big a deal, and it ended up being a pretty damn big deal. And it's just it makes you wonder what will be the lasting effects of something like this, and it's hard to know. Who would have thought all these years later, I shouldn't say the only, but the biggest impact of something like September 11th is I got to take my shoes off at the airport. Is that it? So maybe everybody will get a wanded temperature thing as part of your security check, taking your stuff out of your pockets at the front door now, and hope that maybe that'll be a good thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about. There's a lot of we talked about it earlier with like news coverage, and the news is the news, and I get it, there's an awful lot of news to cover now. That's why it frustrates me when they don't. But at the same time, in a very contradictory way, what I'm about to say is I don't hear a whole lot of projecting. Like, people don't look forward and think about not just the ways things will change, but the opportunity to change things.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me. There's an awful lot of good things that you can do. I just think there's a lot of positives if we survive it. But I would like it better. I shouldn't say I would like it better if we'd start talking about it, because again, there's so much news to cover. I don't know when that gets in there, but instead of just like all the like scare tactic stuff like that, there's plenty of news, like actual happening news, that's creepy enough. So don't pile on, don't add to it. You can just report the news and get it's pretty sensationalistic what's going on out there right now anyway. Just tell it like it is. But as far as I thought, just a good example of the way people are saying it. I read a tweet that a lot of people, I think, had this sentiment, but this one person said it in the way I liked best, and it was like, man, that unskilled labor became essential real quick, didn't it? And I'm like, this is the kind of stuff we should be talking about. It's like, and the other huge thing, and this is, of course, my Aunt Hill to die on, is more of the preventive medicine is a whole lot better than crisis medicine. It's the exact same thing as why you change your oil every 3,000 miles. Because if you don't, whenever your car decides to crap out, it's going to break you. You're a lot better off doing maintenance than you are doing repairs. I hope that we'll kind of consider that going forward, because the main thing is, I know it always comes up, and I always bring it up with Bernie, But dude, people have been talking about this for a long time. Roosevelt was talking about this. It's like, you know what? You guys pay an awful lot in taxes. You should probably get more for it. And that's really the difference between us and every other country. It's like, but the taxes, oh my God, the taxes. We already pay more than enough in taxes to be able to go to the freaking doctor if you are sick. And now with stuff like this, it's like obviously, you know, the barn has burned down. It's not that, but seriously, I'm hoping that we will take a serious look at some of this stuff. And also, I mean, it's no use to crying over the spilt milk of the bailout fund now, but stuff like that just makes me sick. It's like all you ever hear about is the cost. Oh my God, the cost. Where's it gonna come from? Well, ain't nobody asking a question about $45 trillion. No one has said anything. Cause, well, you got to keep the companies going. You do? Okay, all right. You're gonna need to explain that one to me, Lucy.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got way afield on that stuff, but I'm with you. It's like it's kind of what you said earlier, man. I've never ever seen anything like this before, and I would kind of, since we are currently living through it, I would like to think that when we come out the other side, hey, man, we can learn some stuff, and we can make some really good decisions going forward. I hope. I hope.
Yeah. And that's like trying to project what was going to happen. There's a lot of podcasts to listen to and tweets that now seem kind of tone deaf, is the nicest way I know to put it. There was Bill Burr's show that I listen to. I'm a fan of. I like him. But leading into it, he was and he was like, and I think he was like me and thinking like, well, it's just going to be 2 weeks. You can't. And he said, if you can't handle 2 weeks off of work, then you can't manage money. I was like, yes and no. Yes, that's true. But the facts of the matter are most people can't take 2 weeks off work. And there's people that I know in the restaurant industry that are seriously hurting right now. Luckily, with my work, we kept right on working like it wasn't no thing. But at the same time, this past week, I started to feel kind of like, well, maybe it's affecting us, because there was, some slow periods. It was like, well, man, now it's trickling down to us too. And when the whole dollar amount of the stimulus package, if you even qualify for it, it's kind of like, what's that going to do? But at the same time, I was like, I still have that side of me that I will take any dollar you don't want. So if you want to send it, then I will put it to use. But
that's my problem. That's my issue with it too. Is we're sitting here, squabbling over unemployment insurance going up, but 45 trillion that can be parlayed again and again and again and again into government loans for corporations, no problem. They rubber stamped that junk before they even got it out. And it's just like, this is what we're arguing over. And also the other thing is, you're talking about a one-time payment. You're not talking about a moratorium on rent. You're not talking about a moratorium on anything, phone, light, electricity, none of that stuff. So what's $1,200 going to do for anybody?
no.
But that's okay. That's all right, because those stocks, boy, the Dow was looking pretty bad there, but that's okay. I absolutely despise that we try and take the temperature of the economy by the Dow. There are so few people, even when companies started doing 401ks as their retirement, there was still a microscopic percentage of people who are actually in the stock market. That doesn't tell you anything. Stuff like that just makes me nuts, man.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I consider doing with it. It's like, if I can just ride this out and you get a check like that, it's like, well, why not try to invest it and see? But at the same time, it's like, when you look at stocks and stuff, it's like, is this all just BS? And does any of it mean anything? And has no more worth than a baseball card and what somebody's willing to pay you for it.
Yeah.
Is all that it's really worth, So it's, and I, don't know anything about the stock market. I've felt the need to try to get into it, but I've just never done it, because it's what it feels like. It's like, this isn't really even worth anything. And so, and then you had, speaking of tone deaf statements, you had like the Braun Strowman tweets that came out, and people have taken him to task and over it, and I think he deservedly so. It was like, You know, you're looking. It's not the same situation that you're in that these other guys are in. You know, in
Yeah,
the indie
Strowman.
scene.
I thought Strowman got away with one there because people
Mm-hmm.
did give him crap for it. But it's like, man, he's just talking like a rich WWE guy. No, he's talking about talking like a WWE guy who is in that right-wing Republican bootstrap mentality camp. That's what they do. Those kids are indoctrinated, man. It's like it's not just, well, he's got all those I didn't have anything when I moved to Florida and I did just fine. So
Mm-hmm.
you know what that means? You also didn't have catastrophic health issues. That's what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, I can't stand when people start talking all that. Well, you go back to Bill Burr for a second. You can't handle money. You never been sick, Bill. Good for you. That's great. That's fantastic that you've never been sick. But a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are, and a lot of people have. I mean, even just like just medications alone.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have cash for 2 weeks and your rent's due because there's a lot of other things that we need to keep discussing on here because I can't believe that a national moratorium on rent is not something that's been brought up by everybody because what the heck? You've already made it very clear these checks are one time only and it's like grand, $1,200. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. All that stuff. I mean, there's a lot of frustrating things about this entire thing. But yeah, Strowman's a freaking moron, and
Yeah.
but it's just, I mean, it's
If
just
we needed
talking.
any more proof.
Oh yeah, it's just Republican talking points. That's literally all he's doing, and it's okay. It's just that it's one thing that folks on the political spectrum absolutely have in common, depending on what side of the aisle they're on. If they listen to something and regurgitate it, but actually haven't given it a thought of their own, they always wind up saying the same things. It's always the same 5 words, and that's both sides, man. And it's all sides because it's beyond both. But anyhow, on that subject, I promise I'll stop talking politics in a second. When have to know that I've put this on video. When is somebody going to make the call for the Democratic National Committee that must be made? I'm asking all of my Bernie Sanders people to accept that Bernie's not going to get it. Now, I'm pretty sure that I had the same conversation a long time ago. The DNC showed us 4 years ago there was no way he was going to be the guy. They were
Mm-hmm.
never going to let him be the guy. Why do you think I banged on the Elizabeth Warren drum so loud? Because Elizabeth Warren backed Hillary Clinton. She's dead to me. Well, that's foolish. Elizabeth Warren potentially backed Hillary Clinton so that she could be a progressive the DNC would get behind. I've thought it, I've believed it for 4 years. I still believe it. Bernie was never going to be the guy. I hate it because I like Bernie. He's never going to be the guy. Okay, so Bernie's not going to be the guy now. Joe Biden. Joe Biden is 3 syllables, 3 sounds. He can't say his own name. That's
Yeah.
sad. When is someone going to call for Al Gore to take that nomination? Because Al Hercules Gore would walk away with the presidency if anybody would just pick up the phone and call the man.
Yeah.
And that's what I needed to make sure I had said on YouTube because it's driving me nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Al Gore accepting the Democratic nomination, that's what it's got to be. Come on, and I'll tell you why it's got to be that. He's establishment. God knows he's establishment. So the DNC can't complain about him. I know him and the Clintons don't get along, and oh God, that's just a fate worse than death. But that'll help him with a lot of
Mm-hmm.
voters because it's anyway. I'm sorry to get so off on politics, but that's been my thing. It's been making me nuts because I'm just waiting for someone else to say, and I know it's coming, and I'm probably just being impatient. And Al will ride to the rescue in November at the or whenever the nomination. I don't even know when they do that, to be honest with you. But whenever they have the convention, maybe he shows up. I hope. But my main thing is,
It's coming up because I know it's still on the schedule and it hasn't been postponed because they're like we still got to get this done.
man, Al's got to Skype in from Tennessee and tell everybody that he's taking that nomination. It's got to be him. And the reason I say it's got to be him is this, and I say this as honestly as I can. This isn't some stupid. I really believe what I'm about to say. Alexandria Ocasio Cortez is one of two things. She is either the future of the Democratic Party or the future of the party the Democratic Party is going to have to beat.
Mm-hmm.
You better pick, and you better pick wise. So if you take Al, Mr. Inconvenient Truth Gore, run him as your president, then AOC, Miss Green New Deal herself, will back him. You've got to get somebody that the left of your party will back. Stop being such morons. And I know that the second, if Al Gore does get nomination, all you'll hear from the Young Turks is, oh, he's so establishment and la-di-da. And they're right. He is. But this is the DNC. For anyone to get that nomination, they're going to have to be that. They're going to have to be that. So if we can just get somebody that will bring the two, because forget that, you got to unite America. That's never going to happen. Our entire lives have led to this. This is not a Donald Trump thing. This is a 40 years of tribalism is not the word I want to use. It's for Pete's sake, I'm sorry. Anyway, Democrats and Republicans hate each other. We're hardwired to hate each other. It's just the way it is. So forget that. So if the Democrats actually want to do something, get your own freaking party on the same page, you morons. Al's the way to do it, because then you're hard left, which is embodied by AOC, whether the Bernie people like it or not. I love me some Bernie Sanders. But AOC she's it. Like I said, she's the future of the Democratic Party, or the future of who they're going to have to beat. So anyhow, I've gotten way afield on that junk, man. But Gore 2020, we need it.
Gore has been out of sight, out of mind long enough to where he can pop back up and be like, remember me?
That's where I'm at. And also, as far as the whole Green New Deal thing, he ain't got to say nothing, does he? Nope. Mm-hmm. As soon as he shows back up, people, you can see what you're talking about. That's what Paul Ryan's trying to do. Paul Ryan left politics to keep the Trump stink off of him, so that then he can ride back to the rescue, and it'll be so fantastic. And yay, Paul Ryan! I'm 100% convinced that's what his whole play has been. I hope Al's doing the same thing. Come on, Al, listen to me now.
Yeah. So, man, as far as like what's going on in Tampa, and just we're getting everything ready for Tommy to come back. It's everybody will. Going into this week, it's kind of like, how do you even make a WrestleMania prediction video when you don't know from day to day who's going to be there and who's not? And apparently they've already shot most of it anyway. The thing that I didn't understand is that if you can shoot WrestleMania and the Raw after WrestleMania, why can't you shoot TakeOver? Somebody tell me that. Somebody please explain that. But I think it'll end up being better for them anyway, just to kind of draws their stuff out even more. And but it's one of those kind of shows that, well, maybe this will force them to realize that 2 nights is the way to go.
Wrestle Kingdom killed it with the 2 nights this year. Killed it dead. They did such a good job, and it's like this has always been what they should. I read something the other day, and it was like, the rumor is that the main event for night 1 will be one of the women's matches, and I'm like, why are you upset about that?
Yeah,
no, it's good. No, it doesn't have to be nothing. It's a world championship. It can go on last. I'm like, that's what's so cool about doing it over 2 days, man, is you can stretch it out. You can do different things. I love the idea. I'm with you. I love the idea of it being a couple, especially with, now, man, you've been in the stadium for one, man. You've told me before, it's a work shift by the time you're done.
Yeah.
give me a break.
That's what makes you like, I've actually attended in the too, and it's like, the feeling is like, well, I've done that. I don't necessarily need to do that again.
Oh, yes.
What I'm hoping is this will set the trend of move the Hall of Fame to SummerSlam weekend every year from going on, and it frees up that extra night to do the event. So maybe that'll be some of the good that'll come from this. It's like, this is what we should have been doing for a minute.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea to just do because, like you said, SummerSlam's second biggest one anyway, man. So it can be the Hall of Fame. That's cool. And everybody wants to party at the beach anyway, man. The weather will be nicer. That's a really good idea, man. I love the idea of Mania being 2 days. I probably shouldn't admit this, but I'll admit it. Excuse me. It's a jerky victory lap, but boy, I take them all the time. I am very much enjoying people finally waking up to the fact that Wyndham Rotunda is creatively probably the most ingenious guy that we've seen in pro wrestling in a long time. And they feed him to Goldberg in Saudi Arabia. He missed a beat. Nobody cares. Man, it's like you and I talked about, man. They shouldn't have given him the belt in the first place. I think it's dumb they had him get beat, but I thought you made a mistake putting the title on him. You had to move the title off him. Okay, well, that's out of the way. So Bray's lost it. I always used to get so mad when they booked Bray to just lose all the time. And apparently it worked out great because everyone's used to it now, and no one cares because they keep coming back. All that dude's got to do is cut a promo, and the people come back. And I'm like, That's pretty awesome.
Heck
So
yeah.
I'm very excited about Wyatt Cena. As long as they book John Cena to beat Bray Wyatt, that's a mistake
That'd be
because
very dumb.
that's a huge mistake. They already did it once back in the
Yeah,
day,
yeah.
what derailed Bray Wyatt for 15 years. But
Mhm.
anyway, I'm very interested to see, with it being recorded, what we can come up with. And I know the House of Horrors is supposed to be the worst match of all time, and it stunk. But hey, man, if y'all loved the final deletion, I thought that was crap too because it's videotaped wrestling.
Mhm.
But if we're going to videotape wrestling, let's see who can do the most interesting thing. Because the only problem with the not Firefly, the House of whatever it was called, the Randy Orton thing, the only problem
Mhm.
there is you had Randy trapped in the house and then disappeared. Then he just shows up. It was like, nah, y'all just screwed up because you didn't know what you wanted to do, man. That wasn't anybody's fault but yours.
Yep. So it was what made that so jarring was it was a tape segment in the middle of a live show,
Yeah.
and now it's going to be nothing but a tape show.
Tape
So maybe it
section.
won't be
Yeah.
that weird.
Yeah. I think it's cool, man. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do because, the whole like projecting the bugs and junk like that on the ring. I loved that. I just thought, again, the only problem I had with that was it was too short. And I just, I've told you probably on here multiple times that I just love the idea of Bray Wyatt just kind of ruining Randy Orton to where Randy's just gone. It'd been so much cooler if you locked Randy Orton in the freaking, what the heck did they call it? The House of Horrors or whatever it was called. And
Yeah,
it
something like that.
disappears. And then he's just gone. And you don't see him for a while. Like we talked about, man, you got the bugs and all that stuff on the ring and it's cool. And then, man, I've still loved this idea. I still think it's cool. If you have Bray Wyatt come out and he's got the belt and he talks to that junk and all the lights go out, because I love the lights going out. I'm a big fan of the lights out spot.
Yeah.
And you have more projection on the ring. And for the most part, it's just blank and kind of dusty and just weird looking, man. Basically, it looks like scratched up. It would look like Jay White stuff with the scratches and stuff, but just like
Yeah.
that. And for like 1 week, the first time you do it, you just put the word soon. That's it. It cuts off, and Bray's like, what's this? Oh my God. Okay, do it again the next week. Soon. Do it the third week. And when it says soon, the soon eventually like blows away like dust. And then it just says now. And when it says now, the O, make it a viper skull. All the lights come on. Randy's in the ring, and there is your RKO from out of nowhere. And that would have been unbelievable. And I hate Randy Orton, but that would have been cool.
Yeah. Better than
That
what they
that
did.
that weird supernatural stuff. It's so strange to me because people talk endless crap about it, but it's kind of fun. And I guess I think it's kind of fun, but more to the point. Even if you don't think it's fun, man, if you're gonna do it, do it. If you're gonna do
Hmm.
that weird junk, do that weird junk, man. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Let's get nuts.
Yeah, dude, seriously. It's like, all right, how crazy do you want to get? And Bray says, well, let me show you. I think that'd
Yeah.
be awesome, man.
I think this situation and doing tape shows kind of even makes that character even more big.
I,
What they
I
can do.
I totally agree, man. I'm really happy the Firefly Funhouse segments were all pre-recorded 'cause I love that stuff. I don't need anybody in the ring walking from post to post cutting a promo. I hate that. It's one of the holdovers from the mid Attitude Era that I just can't stand. It's like, y'all, I can't stand it.
That that's been one of the things over these past couple of weeks, and I'm not smart, and I'm a glutton for punishment, and I've watched a lot of the empty arena shows, and they've just been boring for the most part. But it'll help certain people and hurt others. I liked the AEW stuff, guys cutting promos in the ring without a microphone. So why do we need this microphone?
Yeah.
As a little simple thing like that can make it, uh, you know, a lot more interesting to look at. And if it's like Bray Wyatt, if you're going to have Matt Hardy come in and be this supernatural character, like go with it. And people didn't like that Tony Schiavone is actually believing this. Like it's a TV show, and that's one of the things that's going to change. It's a new way of doing things.
Yeah.
And if you're going to have this guy be this supernatural magic, as he calls himself, character, then do it.
See, that's my thing too, and I'm glad you brought up Matt Hardy because that's the deal. When you watch the final deletion, it's like, look, man, this is just Lucha Underground on steroids. This is Lucha
Mm-hmm.
Underground with
With a
actual
budget.
special effects.
Mm-hmm.
They literally will cut away and do multiple takes to get special effects, and it might not be your thing. It's not really my thing either, but it is the future and it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But that was something that poor Corny and Last lost their minds over the Jericho Hardy segment. And it actually made me quite happy that they hated it so much, and I'm going to tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
All I ever hear is Jericho, Chris Jericho, this, Matt Hardy, man, these are professional wrestlers. These are guys that get it. They know how to do it. They're not, Tony Khan's puppets, and it's not
Well, maybe
Kenny
not.
Olivier and the Young Bucks. And I'm like, and the worst promo in the history of the show is y'all's boys. And he literally sat on his podcast trying to make it sound like, I can't believe they're making Jericho do this. Making. You're the
Mm-hmm.
one that loses your mind. You got to have that general tells people what to do. They don't have that in AEW, which means that Chris Jericho and Matt Hardy are the people that's not only signed off on this, but made it up. So I
Yeah.
love the fact that your protege, because Chris Jericho, OVW, the Smoke Mountain Wrestling, Chris Jericho, and he'll never talk junk against Jericho. Well, you better start because
Mm-hmm.
he has bought into the new school hook, line, and sinker. That new school you hate so much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it either. I'm not a huge fan of it. It's not my thing. But I don't hate on it either because this is what they gonna do now. And it's more of the same like you and I've talked about, man. I've had experience with this before, particularly when Cena and Orton became the guys in WWE. You just ask yourself, is it worth sticking around if these guys are the guys? And for me, it wasn't, so that's when I stopped watching it. It's the same thing. Just don't look at it no more. But I'm telling you, that's where his heartbreak and hatred for that came from, was if it's
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Omega doing that stuff, he would lambaste it, and rightly so, because it wouldn't be any good. But he would be thrilled to do it. But it being your guys doing it, oh boy, I know that one had to hurt because it's all like, well, I don't want anything to do with AEW. Well, these guys do, and this is the future, so that's how come they doing it.
Yeah.
Messed up, man. But yeah, it's so stupid. Tony Schiavone has to sell Matt Hardy like he's magic, and it's like, yeah, the final deletion. I didn't watch the final deletion either. In that case, you should probably stop talking about how much you like Matt Hardy, because if you're not caught up with him from then, you don't
Mm-hmm.
know what you're saying anymore. He's
Yeah.
different now. Matt Hardy with the little clipboard and as the film director, he's very different than he used to be, man.
Oh yeah. And that, like, what the connection with these empty arena matches as what kind of really surprised me with okay, I gotta get the name right, Dark Side of the Ring. I have to
Hey,
concentrate. Is that started back up this week, and it was really smart to do it as a part one and part two, because in order to tell the Chris Benoit story, is you got to tell the Eddie Guerrero story, and
yeah, you do.
and they put it up as a part one and part two on YouTube, and there's this because it takes you up to that point where Eddie passes away, and you get that kind of feeling like you know what's coming now. So if you want to keep going, then hit play. If you don't, then
We understand.
yeah, just move on.
Yeah,
Because
we
if you hit
edited it
play
this
on
way
this
for a
part
reason.
two, we're gonna pour some salt in your eye, some more. But the thing, and it's in part one that kind of struck me, and it's a point that I haven't heard anybody else make. So maybe it's just wasn't as big a deal to some people as it was to me. But the reason why these empty arena shows was like, why is this so jarring to me? Why does it look so weird? Is you go back and you watch the Chris Benoit announcement was from an empty ring in an empty arena. I was like, that's what this reminds me of is, and luckily it only took one or two shows, and they did learn to, like, let's not show all these empty chairs.
I noticed that too. They didn't put the seats out anymore, and I thought it looked way better, but man, that never occurred to me, and I'm glad you said it, because that's a really good point. That's a good point, man.
Vince, being in Mexico City, this is supposed to be filled with cheering WWE fans. That little clip, and how Dark Side of the Ring is able to use some of that footage they do, I don't know. I'm just glad that they do.
I'll never know.
But that's what it reminded me of when I saw Vince doing that announcement. Like, oh, that's why these have been they just been plain boring. Number one, and just it took me back to that. Oh, this reminds me of one of the worst nights ever.
Yeah, dude, I hadn't even thought about that, man.
But I just these guys that do that show, and I feel bad for not being able to remember the names right now, but going back to last season, going into this one, these are some of the best filmmakers going today.
Yeah,
And
man.
I say that and believe that. Uh, and it's a dang good show. There's a lot of stuff. Even as much as this story has been run to death, there was still stuff that they uncovered, and you learned more about it. Just uh, the home video footage
Oh man.
alone of Chris and Nancy and Daniel and David. It's just kind of like, oh man, this is hard to watch, and it was. But uh, the and maybe he's told the story before, maybe I just plain forgot it, but uh, the Chavo being right there when what happened with Eddie's, I didn't know that, and if he has said that, then and he probably has on a shoot or interview before, and I just didn't know that part of the story.
Yeah, me neither, man.
He was like there, in the hotel room when
Man.
it went down, and so that was a trip to hear that, and I had remembered hearing Jericho's podcast a year or two ago when Nancy's sister was on there, and I just when she popped up, I was like, oh, that's who that's got to be,
Oh
and so
man.
her perspective, uh, and David being there is what really made the show somewhat redeemable. At least for part two.
Yeah.
And the Chris Nowitzki stuff, and and there was a lot there to it kicks off the show. You're not 2 minutes into it, and apparently Chris Jericho is the narrator for the entire season,
Oh, okay.
which last year it was shared. There was uh, Dutch Mantel did most of
Yes.
them, and then he had the Bruiser Brody episode. Was like, if I'm going to be a character in this, I can't be the narrator. So I want to say Chavo did that one, if I remember right. But yeah, man, him being the voice of the show, I think is going to be really good for it.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to the next episode's New Jack. So, oh man, talk about some more just crazy stories to get into. And there's a New Jack hardcore documentary that came out several years ago. That, man, as much as you can turn that on and just, it's like, man, there's part of me that just really don't like this guy, but you can't turn away.
New Jack's a really interesting. I think it goes to what you're saying. It's like it's a dude that your instincts, you kind of don't want to like him, but
Mm-hmm.
I think New Jack's a perfect example of this. Happens a lot too. There's a lot of people in the world who are rough around the edges. There's a lot of people that are
Mm-hmm.
just straight up not your cup of tea.
Yeah.
But somebody that's like that, that will shoot that straight, that's like
Mm-hmm.
that honest about who they are, man, you respect the crap out of that.
Yeah.
Jack is such an interesting guy because I think all of us that like him kind of like him for that reason. Whether
Yeah.
it's not even like, "Oh, I don't want to like that dude, but I do." It's kind of like, how can you not respect anybody that's that straight with you?
Mm-hmm.
And that's cool. It's like, yeah, man. It's
Yeah.
like, make no mistake. This is who I am. I don't know. It's just somebody that will just put it on Front Street like that and be like, I'm gonna let you make your decision on
Mm-hmm.
exactly who I am. That's pretty cool. I think that's pretty
Yeah.
commendable. Like, all right, go on, Jack.
There's They've announced a lot of what's coming in the season. There's a lot to look forward to. They're closing things out with Owen Hart, and that one's one I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Hardcore. I was really surprised the number of people that are like, oh man, I can't wait for that Dino Bravo episode. It's like, what is there to tell?
Yeah,
Like the
Dino.
the the, the guy kind of was one of those guys that just, as far as matches go, kind of like so, and then when what happened to him, I think it was JR that kind of made the point, like, you know, uh, why is there intrigue in this one? I don't, and I'm looking forward to them surprising me with something to like in the episode, because I'm like, what is there really to tell? This guy that got involved with the mob and got killed. That's what happens.
Yeah,
when
man.
you go looking to make a quick buck and they have a problem with it, you're gonna be gone.
I can dig the both sides of it because I'm with you. It's like, yeah, man, gangland murder. Okay, that sounds about right. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's got that. I'm going to rip off your example that you use. I always say A&E biography, and I'm going to rip off your example of Behind the Music. Every now and again, some of the ones you don't care anything about really like intrigue you and wind up being the best
Mm-hmm.
ones. So hopefully
Yeah.
Dino will do that.
Yeah. But one more thing that I wasn't sure if they would get into, and they didn't on the Chris Benoit episode. And if you haven't watched it, go check it out. It's good. But especially living in the town that we both
Uh-huh.
live in, and you live a lot closer now. The What was left uh, after that happened, living in this town, was somebody's got to pay. We're gonna make sure somebody pays because that some bitch killed herself, and they went after a doctor in this town, hardcore, who's still in prison right now. Uh, a doctor that I went to when I was a kid. Uh, you can Google it and find out all the info. But uh, I thought they might mention that a little bit, and they didn't. But it's kind of like what's there really to learn from that? It They took down a guy that just did what a lot of doctors do. Anybody, doctors, people in the banking industry that I've worked in, so you just get kind of caught up in wanting to please people, and you know you have somebody like that in your office, and you just write them scripts for whatever pain medication they're hooked on, and
They ask you to.
that's the way that happened. But somebody had to pay. Chris wasn't here to do it, so we're going to take this guy down. He's still in prison to this day.
Yeah, man.
And I you know, and there was a lot that they got into in the episode that I just didn't think. They had like the police officers that answered the call
Dang,
to the
dude.
house. The wellness check, they call it. I didn't know that was even a thing. It would take stroke like that from a company like the WWE to be able to send from states away a police officer out to a home of one of your employees that didn't show up and hadn't shown up, and we need to go be sure that everything's there. And they were able to get in and do it, but they had that officer that answered that call and just like telling just the photos from inside the house and just all the stuff that was the pictures I painted in my head was kind of close to what was to what was going on. And
Yeah, man.
that stuff was kind of some of the roughest parts to listen to. Is just like, man, that uh, seeing what went down, getting into the house, and there being okay. The odor of death is in here, and then they get to the room and they see a guy standing there, and the officer that was with the main guy that was telling the story is like, it's like he's gone. You don't need to draw your weapon. He's dead. But you put yourself in the mindset of that officer. Like, I would have probably done the same thing. You think a guy standing there, like, show your hands or about to drop you, like, no, there's no need to do that. There's a cord around his neck. He's gone. So stuff like that, and the officers are there, and one of the questions that got asked from his officer that was with him was like, "Do we need to start CPR?" Like, no, we don't. Don't
Yeah.
don't don't waste your time with that. So, but there was as much as that story's been told over and over and over again, there was still a lot more to uncover and stuff to
Yeah.
learn from it that I didn't know. And just this, I'm pretty sure it was in the episode that the some of the stuff that Chavo gets sent like through Twitter and posts. I was like, man, that's just crazy. How the text that Benoit sent, he said, periodically people still feel the need to post that on my page. Like, why? It's just the insane stuff that you hear. Like, man, it sounds like what goes on Twitter though. But man, it's a good episode. Looking forward to the season to come.
Yeah, the rest of the season. Yeah, man.
Yeah. So maybe that's pretty much all had been going on. Like, I haven't been the best patient. I have gone out a few times. You got to get out and go to work and then go pick up food and stuff. So, you know, I'm not a mask guy, but, you know, people kind of look at you funny when you're not wearing one. Like, I'm fine. I'm not sick, so I'm not going to have one on.
Yeah, see, that doesn't surprise me. It's just I know that my friend that works in the healthcare industry, you get it. It's like the masks aren't to keep you from getting sick; they're to keep you from getting other people sick. It's like no, no,
Yeah.
no. I've got mine. I wear mine all the time because it's springtime in Georgia, so everything's blooming, and I'm like always. That was my whole thing is I wear them for pollen. That's what I do it for. But at the same time, I'm very hacky and coughy and whatnot. So if I cough around somebody, I don't want them to have to lose their minds. I've got this on. It's for other people, so they can hopefully feel okay about our interaction.
And it's here and it's hardcore because every
Oh my God, my
car you
car
go by is
looks.
like covered in
It,
yellow.
it's the truth, man.
And I had that same kind of deal. I had to get like some Sudafed stuff the other day because I feel it coming on. If you don't get out in front of it, then you know you're too late.
Yeah, that's my thing too, man. I usually my chest will get all like crazy, and it's like, okay, you first of all have to like take the oh for Pete's sake, I can't remember which one I take now, man. But it's like the basically the medicine to knock it out, and then alongside that you've got to start your Aleve so you can get it in your system, and then just do that. It's working out okay now, man. But I'm with you. It's like it will always tip you off and let you know when it's time to start going crazy on the sinus medication in Georgia.
you, you got to have it,
Yeah, seriously, man.
man. But if you're watching this, then this worked.
Yeah,
And I
totally,
figured out how
man.
to do this.
Well said, man.
So I think I'm getting it down. I don't know how it'll look as far as I was trying to do the whole split screen thing. I don't know how that'll happen, but we'll see.
It's all good, brother, man. Seriously, one way or the other, whether it works or not, it's still fun, man. I appreciate it.
Heck yeah, man. So that's what's up.
We will have to do this again sometime. Hopefully, not too many more times, but it's all good. It's cool. I'll try and do some more stuff too in the next week, so I got something to talk about besides politics.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I got that out of my system. We won't do that next time.
Cool, man. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can get this stop button to work.